Hey there, it's Sam. I'm actually here in New York, Washington Square Park. Nice little park here, and I'm just making a quick video to talk about the current astrology. We have 3 exalted planets in the sky right now. The Sun, Saturn, and Venus are all exalted in the sky right now. And they're going to be until May 14th. And so, you know, it brings up a lot of questions about exalted planets, about, you know, those 3 in particular. And, you know, a lot of what we're going through right now, of course, is actually, as I record this on Friday, May 9th, I think, is the date. Sun and Saturn are in like a direct opposition. And it's, you know, these 2 forces of, you know, the soul's power and light, which is the sun, and our awareness of limitations and the need for boundaries and to be realistic. These 2 forces are sort of squaring off, and I did a recent update about that, so you can go ahead and check that out. I don't want to talk about all that again. But both of those planets are exalted, so they're not just in opposition to each other, they're also both exalted. So, in addition, Venus is exalted as well. It's in Pisces, and so all 3 will be exalted until May 14th, when the Sun leaves Aries. But then Venus will still be in Pisces for another week or so, I think. I don't remember it off the top of my head. So the thing is that, whoops, I almost fell. Exalted planets, they act a certain way, they act a specific way, in that they activate their true nature, their true like wisdom. They're called Jagrad, which means awake. The Jagrad Avashtas are very important in understanding the relative level of wakefulness or sleep with the planets. And wakefulness and sleep, of course, are very important because we're all trying to awaken from our sleep here on Earth. We're trying to awaken from the sleepiness of being incarnated in a body that has a lot of needs and you know, the body literally needs to sleep, and it creates a sleepy kind of nature, if not a damn near unconscious nature, where we've forgotten our true self as spirit. So when planets are exalted, they awaken, or they're awakened. Now, when they're in someone's birth chart, when someone has an exalted planet in their birth chart, it's very awake. That energy is awake in them. Now, you want to understand what this means, because it's very intentional, okay? It doesn't mean it gives good stuff. In fact, it can disrupt the good stuff to wake us up to something much deeper. And exalted Venus can very easily disturb things like relationships and the things of the world that makes us happy. And it disturbs that to elevate our desires, and so that we can find happiness in everything, or as my guru Amachi says, happiness for no reason. People often come to Amma and they ask her, Amma, are we here to be happy? And they're in conflict about spirituality and happiness, you know, individual personal happiness. And Amma says, yes, we are here to be happy, but be happy for no reason. When you look at Amma, she's always happy. But it's not happiness because of something like, oh, I'm happy because I fulfilled this desire. I'm happy because I'm eating ice cream. I'm happy because this person likes me. That's a happiness that's conditional. Unconditional happiness, or as Amma says, being happy for no reason, means happiness becomes your very state of existence. And this is why Venus is exalted in Pisces, which is the sign where there is no conditions, and there is no there are no conditions that need to be met. And it's debilitated in Virgo, where we notice all of the details and we can find a million reasons not to be happy. Stereotypically, that doesn't mean that if you have Venus in Pisces, you're necessarily happy for no reason, or if you have it in Virgo, you find a lot of reasons to be unhappy. But there's a tendency toward those things, and the potential is there when these planets are in the natal chart or in the sky. And the important word there is potential. It's very important, because what happens when a planet is exalted is it really it like raises the standard. So what happens typically when someone, let's say they have Venus exalted, they'll have a lot of desires, and they'll have a lot of conditions where they're trying to really be happy in the world. But with each fulfilled desire, there's the understanding that this isn't the real thing, this isn't the real happiness. Because it's awake, that energy is awake, and it's trying to awaken to the highest potential of that thing, as I said. And so with Venus, it has to do with desire. Like I said, and trying to fulfill our desires and to be happy based on something that's going to change, like a meal or a person or a relationship, because that energy is awake, because it's exalted and it's awake, we have a high standard, and it leads to disappointment. Exalted Venus is notorious for disappointment. So we may be experiencing and really feeling some disappointments right now, especially in our relations with others. Others are going to disappoint us because if our happiness is based on them, they're not going to do what makes us happy all the time. In fact, if we're lucky if they do it half the time, because they're not here to make us happy, they're here to make themselves happy, and they're here also trying to find happiness for no reason, and we're just as confounding and just as irritating and just as disappointing as they are. And the awakened planet, one that's exalted, or in its own sign, let's say in a natal chart, any planet that's in its own sign is also in the Jagrata Vashta, is going to have a very high standard because it's awake. Just like if you're asleep and you're dreaming and you're like, I wonder what's going on with this, and then you wake up from the sleep, you're going to have the answer. Or it's like shining the light into a dark corner of your psyche. If it's dark and you're not sure, it's like, I'm not sure what's over there, and then you turn the light on and you see it, then your standard of, let's say, cleanliness, let's say that you have all this dirt in the corner and you're not sure what's in there, then you shine the light on it, then you can see it. Now your standard of cleanliness is going to change because now you can see how dirty it is. If you didn't know how dirty it was before, then you don't really know. So it's these parts of our psyche that are dirty and unclean that awakened planets can illuminate. So I talked about Venus as worldly happiness being exalted in Pisces, which has no boundaries, bringing this happiness for no reason sort of nature. But the Sun and Saturn are also exalted. Exalted Sun is in Aries because Aries is where we just act instinctively. We act instinctively and enthusiastically rather than considering the consequences and whatnot. We're inspired by the moment and we act instinctively. So when we act instinctively on the Sun energy, which is that light within, that pure light within, that pure light that first of all is not worried about looking foolish, making a mistake, it's not worried about those things, it's worried about contribution, it's worried about giving. When we act instinctively on that, then we're acting in accordance with the highest Sun. The Sun is debilitated in Libra, where we're trying to please others and we're afraid that our power might make us unpopular or people might not like it, and all the blowback that we get when we start to evolve from everyone that we know. As soon as you start to step into a higher version of yourself, everybody who sees you in some limited way and who is threatened by your power is going to start sniping at you. And this is the biggest reason why people don't pursue their greatness. Not because they're afraid of their failures, they're afraid of their greatness, because they're afraid of how it's going to change everything. So if you're going to be inspired by something great, then you need to act in accordance with that and let the chips fall where they may. This is why the Sun is the part of us that needs to be the powerful, glorious individual. It's exalted in Aries, where we say, I don't care what others think. I'm going to do what I know is right because that's my nature, is to be an independent, autonomous powerhouse. So when we act on when that instinctive drive for individuation comes in contact with the soul's purpose, it's exalted. Saturn is exalted in Libra because Saturn is our fears. It's our, those fears that can hold us back from committing to things. It's our disappointments in life. our fear of being disappointed, and how these things translate into our deep commitments. It's exalted in Libra because, first of all, Libra is the sign of other people, where we connect that vision with others, where we reach out to others in our time of stress and worry, where we wait before we do something impulsive, like it's debilitated in Aries because it's impulsive. We don't want to impulsively act on our fears. We want to wait, we want to be careful, we want to consider the consequences, especially the consequences that come to others based on our fears. If we're acting in fear to protect ourselves or to gain some advantage over others, then it's a problem. But in Libra, we're sensitive to others. So Saturn is exalted there, where we consider the consequences, especially as they relate to others, and where we reach out to others in our times of need, and also where we make a commitment to others. Make a commitment, Saturn, to others, Libra, and that dynamic. And it's also where we're realistic about others, because Saturn is where we have felt the pain of life, where we felt our mistakes, and where those mistakes can make us gun shy and afraid to act. And so with Libra, we, as I say, we actually reach out to others and we make a commitment to work through that, and we're realistic about what we can expect from them, rather than projecting all these unreal fantasies onto them. So instead of, and also instead of allowing those disappointments in life to, make us isolated, it makes us more appreciative of others, makes us more realistic about what we can expect from them and whatnot. So these are big things that are up for us. Saturn has been exalted since, off and on since November of 2011. This is why, all of our relationships and all of those things have been really pushed for the last couple of years. And it's also been joined Rahu. So the Saturn exaltation has been there for a couple of years. And now we also have the Sun exalted and Venus exalted. So I hope this was helpful for you. Give you a little tour here of Washington Square Park. It's kind of nice. It's pretty nice weather here in New York right now. It's like 65 or something. Some dogs barking. I guess they're cherry blossoms or something. Okay, so have a good one.